Welcome to Sincerely Carolina, where we have conversations with local and international guests about current social issues to create awareness based on expertise and factual information. Remember, you can win fun prizes by participating in the weekly Learn and Win Wednesday quizzes on my Instagram. Sincerely Carolina is powered by Proframe Aruba, Neutrogena, and Febreze. Hello, happy new week. Welcome to Sincerely Carolina. My name's Carolina and I am your host. So this is the last episode for this year, and this particular episode, like this particular topic, has been postponed and rescheduled many times. So I suppose it's very fitting that it's the last one. Before I continue, I want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in this year. I just had Zach here who won the end of year giveaway, the Febreze holiday collection. It was really nice giveaway, like I won that giveaway. But anyways, and basically I asked y'all to tell me something that you really liked or learned during this year, and it was really nice to see all the responses, not just on like the poll that I did for this particular giveaway, but all the responses that I get from everyone, either through like DM, when you see me in person, I enjoy that and I appreciate that, because then I know that somebody is learning something and enjoying these episodes. So please, by all means, do tell me if there is something that you really enjoyed or something that you really want to learn about that we should focus on next year. So I just wanted to start with that, and of course I want to say thank you to my awesome sponsors. Of course, thank you to Sopi Studio for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Thank you to Proframe, thank you to Febreze, thank you to Neutrogena, and thank you to all the sponsors and partners who have supported Sincerely Carolina during this year. Thank you. I appreciate you. So without further ado, we have Helliene Henriquez in the house. Hello. So Helliene, so some of you might have seen me posting about this topic and episode a couple of times leading up to today, and for some reason, we had all kinds of and sorts of rescheduling happening, but we are here today, and we're going to be talking about Helliene's particular journey on epilepsy, and really talking about, how epilepsy is an invisible disability.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so anyways, without further ado, Helliene, tell us who you are, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so my name is Helliene. I'm 31 years old, and the reason I'm sitting here today is I'm an epilepsy warrior and advocate.
Yes, ma'am. So if you follow Helliene, or if you read her article in magazines, or if you have seen her, it's because she has really made it a point to talk a little bit more than other people do about epilepsy, and I appreciate that. It's been a learning experience following you, but I also think it's important to talk about, a topic that everybody sort of knows what epilepsy is in a nutshell, because they don't know it really in depth, but they know that epilepsy is something that exists, but that's about it,
And there's such more to that.
Yes, so tell us a little bit about epilepsy in general and your case in particular as well.
Okay, so what is epilepsy? As simple that I can explain it is, it's like you get a thunderstorm in your brain.
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very imaginative way, I guess, because we all know what thunderstorms look like, right?
Yes.
So that's a good way of putting it into a picture for us. So tell us why.
Your brain, it freezes for like minutes to seconds,
Okay.
and me, when I get it,
Mhm.
I don't know, minutay, full off. I don't
Okay.
know that it's happening.
Mhm.
And when I wake up, and then I'm like, oh, it happened.
Okay.
And then I have to like recover from it mentally, physically, the bruises, remembering the medication, it's adjusting back. Because when you have a seizure and your brain is like you get the thunderstorm, you lose brain cells. It's brain damage.
Okay.
I'm not 100% who I was before the seizures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank goodness our, body does a really good job at recovering, but it takes
Yes.
time, right? And you
Yes.
have shared about why it might take, sometimes hours, sometimes days, and even weeks of feeling tired. So
Yes.
I like how you shared and explained that because personally, I mean, when I think of seizures, I understand that it's very heavy at that
Mm-hmm.
moment, but I haven't experienced it with somebody where I had to experience like the recovery process to know how
Mm-hmm.
much time they might need, and of course that differs per person and per seizure.
Correct. Então, aceita algo hopi ainda não every person
Mhm.
has it differently. Every
Yes.
person has a different trigger. Every person has a different reason why they have seizures,
Mhm.
and every person has a different kind of treatment and how to react to the medication and lifestyle.
Mhm.
So everyone's seizure and epilepsy is unique.
Yes, and I think that's important because um, again, because of pop culture, so maybe movies and stuff, I think a lot of people are used to seeing, somebody having a seizure like on the floor, maybe even
Yes.
convulsing, right?
Yes.
But you have
That's a
shared that,
typical, yeah.
yes, okay, so that's considered a typical, but in your case, it looked very different, which is also the
Mm-hmm.
reason I know that you shared that when you were a child, you knew something was going on,
See.
pero no Kiko.
Yes. So I started having those by off of like staring into space since I
Mm-hmm.
was like maybe 9 years old.
Wow.
But I but they didn't know what it was. I
Okay.
went to the specialist, they didn't know what it was. This kept on going every day, like multiple times in a day. I remember like writing it down, okay, it
Mm-hmm.
happened so many times this day. And that continued.
And that you realize that, okay, this can't
I
be.
don't want to live like this anymore.
Okay,
So
okay.
at 15, 16 years old, I begged my high stars, hey, me quer bij um specialista, me não pode beber cinema. Then he referred me to a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
did the test, it's epilepsy.
Wow.
Immediately started medication and then my seizure reduced. Then
Wow.
I was like, finally, a diagnosis, a treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a little bit normal again.
Mm-hmm. And is this common? Like, I mean, I don't know. What is the process of getting the epilepsy diagnosis like? If you don't have what would be considered like a, standard seizure or like a, you know, like in your case,
Mm-hmm.
what is the process if somebody has a kid and maybe they see their kid like spacing out, like
Mm-hmm.
is it a lengthy process or does it really depend on the person, on the physician? How do people get to the point of like, okay, I feel like this is not okay anymore, or this can be, this is
Mm-hmm.
becoming disruptive to this person's life? When does that switch to, okay, go to the primary physician and be like, I think this is a little bit more serious? How does
Yeah.
that process happen usually, or what would you recommend as an advocate,
Mm-hmm.
from learning from your own experience and just best practices?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I knew something was up,
Mhm.
and everyone could see it. It would
Mhm.
affect me socially and personally. So I kept asking, and I saw other kids at school having those convulsive seizures,
Okay,
and
so you thought that's not it.
I
Uh-huh.
didn't think I had epilepsy.
Okay,
And then
okay.
we talked to the high stars, we explained, and then the high stars was like, no, you have to go to neurologist. And then I did a test where they
Uh-huh.
put on the cap and check
Mhm.
my brain activity, and that's how I got a diagnosis.
Okay. So you would just recommend people, if you feel like something's not, even though it doesn't look like what would be considered like a regular
Seizure,
seizure,
yeah.
seek help, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, it's anytime that something does not look as the picture of what we learned that it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to look like, it's hard for
Yes.
people to determine what it is. And I guess with children, it can look like something like spacing out, and then,
Yes. I mean,
yeah.
even babies have them, and
Okay.
with babies, they call them baby spasms.
Okay.
And I think I shared how it looks like on
Mhm.
my Instagram,
Mhm.
but also dogs can have seizures too.
Right, right,
So
right, right.
it can happen to anyone.
Uh-huh. Also, I also learned that not all seizures are epileptic seizures.
True.
Uh-huh. So I think that's also interesting to learn because seizures can be something that happens sporadically if triggered by
Yep.
something specifically, and epilepsy is if it's recurring, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
A person can have just one seizure and
Uh-huh.
not be diagnosed with epilepsy,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to have a certain like more than one seizure and be diagnosed by the
Uh-huh.
test AAK to be diagnosed with epilepsy.
Okay. And that's when you go on medication and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
interesting. So, Helene, tell us a little bit about your experience after diagnosis. Like, what was life like as a teenager, as a student?
I
And you
don't
have
remember
shared.
much.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I remember some of it. Like recently, I went to my photo albums and saw all the pictures, my report, and everything came back. So it was really
Wow.
weird kung ano yung malubidas. Sino hopi? Minatata.
Wow.
See.
Uh,
So
okay. And that's something that happens? I mean, is it linked to that whole experience? I mean, it could also be
I mean,
like a trauma response, your
I
body
think
just shutting
so.
down and
Yeah.
being like, this is too much.
Porta. See.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But see. So after I got on medication around
Mhm.
16, I kept being on medication, kapa school, kabahavo, eventually by Hulanda sige studia. And I come like my doctor gave me the okay to like reduce medication and stop medication. This is by Hulanda, studia, living the student life, by school, by Sally, like student avant and everything.
Mhm.
Stress school, and then I came back.
Oh no.
So back on the whole process to the
Figuring
doctor.
out what
Yep,
works.
accepting that it's gonna be in my life forever. Like
Mhm.
adapting the medication again, lifestyle again. So yeah, that hit me hard.
Okay. Was that hard realizing after having a moment where like, okay, it seems like
I
we're
thought I grew
good?
out. I thought I
Uh-huh.
grew out from it, but no.
Okay. Is that something that can happen? Do people?
Yes, it's
Okay.
normal. It's
Okay.
completely normal with
Okay.
epilepsy. Yeah.
For people to grow out of it.
I mean, I've known people that grew out of it,
Okay. Okay.
but with me, no.
No, okay. And what was that like? I mean, because you mentioned accepting that. What was it like, or what is something that you had to go through, or maybe still go through, with that realization that it's part of who you are, and some
Yes.
days are better than others.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
100%. Yeah, so it did help me back at school for a while
Okay.
because I got rejected from my internship because of epilepsy.
How did they find out that did you just mention it, and then were
Um,
they like, no?
I got accepted and I
Mm-hmm.
moved, and I remember filling in the paper, make it official,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to tell. I was honest, tell me
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have
They,
epilepsy, I'm on
uh-huh.
medication, and 3 days before I had to start, they sent me email. Yeah, buena to betraubar mas. So I got rejected,
Oh
and
my
I was
gosh.
devastated. I was
3 days before starting.
yes, yes, I could not believe it. And I didn't know I could do something about it. I didn't know. After many, many months, I, uh,
Wow.
someone told me, hey, we puedo contact Aruba High Sinaluida. But I didn't know.
No,
But
right.
in the end, it kind of worked out in my favor because after that, I got the internship that I really wanted. So,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so we talked a couple of episodes ago on invisible disabilities, and one of those things is the stigma that may come with certain
Mm-hmm.
conditions, right? And especially when it's an invisible disability, it's kind of hard because people don't see it.
Yes.
And then it adds this scary factor where it's like, oh, is it gonna happen at work?
Yeah.
And it might, right? Because it might.
Mm-hmm.
But also the importance of being an advocate for yourself and for others the moment that you know. Because, like you said, you had epilepsy, but you never were in a situation where you needed to know that you couldn't be discriminated because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people go through life being discriminated for things like that without knowing necessarily
Sí.
that it is that,
Mhm.
y Kiko Pahasi.
Sí. Pero para mí, miss, I held back
Mm-hmm.
from telling people I had epilepsy for many, many years.
Okay.
Of no como I held back, I did not hide it, but only my family and close friends knew about it.
Was it because you were afraid of people like being scared of it, or you didn't know how to talk about it, or
A little bit of that, and also being discriminated for having it.
okay, so
Yeah.
you were aware that that could be
Mhm.
something that
Yeah,
people.
from past experience.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Interesting. I mean, I say interesting because I I would like to think that I have often been in environments that have been relatively welcoming, and I don't think that I have experienced somebody being discriminated against for having a condition directly. What I do, however, see is that they'll allow you to participate, but then they'll put like a bunch of like yellow tape around you basically.
Yes,
So it's like
yes.
you're allowed to come, but or you're allowed to participate, but
Mhm.
did you feel a lot of that too, or do you still have that or feel that?
I remember participating na colegio de aquatalon,
Uh-huh.
and because during the practices I had seizures in the water,
Okay.
and during the actual aquatalon they like no, bueno puedo me, I'm gonna do me,
Wow.
and I told them I'm gonna do me, and I did.
Okay.
Regardless,
Mm-hmm.
pero mi nota cara is lagi sa istrobami.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pero mi sa akin moment everyone's gonna be swimming and running, so I will. In that moment, I wasn't alone. So if something would have happened,
Yeah.
there were people there.
Okay. And it's that decision, right?
Yeah.
Because you know that of course something could always happen, but do you stop participating or living because of that? This year, right? You traveled by yourself. You
Yes.
did a lot of fun stuff too.
Yes.
And I loved how you were sharing when you were on your vacation. You wanted to do all these activities, but then there was one day that you were really tired.
Yeah.
You shared about that as well. You were
See.
like, I need a break.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I think that
Have to listen to your body.
yes, no matter what, but
Mhm.
especially if you have a condition,
Yes.
right? And I think that's beautiful because I think that you have really created a space to show people that you can lead a very happy and fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
And like you said, listening to your body, that means some days, even if you're in Europe, you might need to take a longer break than
Yes.
others, but it doesn't mean that you don't get to go to Europe.
Yeah.
So I think that was a really nice way of you showing that because it takes a lot of vulnerability as well to share the way that you do. Um, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So what is something that you really think that people should know or misconceptions, anything you want to share with us that you think that Karina, you haven't asked me about this, but I feel like this is something really important for me to share about.
Okay, something I think I haven't shared already is, when you wake up in the morning, everyone checks their phone or like drinks their coffee in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Me, when I first wake up, before I even open my eyes, the first thing I do or think, okay, kung mi brain alam na awe.
Okay.
Like, how do I feel? How do my brain feel? Like slowly waking up. Did I sleep enough? Do I feel like the energy, or do I feel tired? Is it gonna be one of those days?
Okay.
So that's something every day for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to really give your body that time to.
To wake up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. I mean, yeah. I'm a very go-go person. So I usually wake up and my brain just starts thinking like, okay, we have to do this and that and this and that. And then
That
kind
makes
of
me tired.
and then what I do is like, even if I didn't sleep enough, I'm like, nope, the list is long, girl, you gotta get up. But yeah, and with you, it's like you really need to check in with your brain first
Yes.
and then decide if whether or not the things that you have
Yeah.
on your plate for that day
Because
are
if
gonna
I
be a
wake,
go or not.
yeah, because if I wake up tired, like I want to work, but my brain's like, no, like take a chill. I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna go to work. Gonna have a slow day, and then I have to after work I have to cancel my practices.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then I get disappointed because I have to rest because I want to dance, but I
Uh-huh.
have to rest. So yeah,
So it's figuring that out,
yeah,
right?
mhm,
But you
mhm,
still get to do those things, and I
yeah.
think it's important again to mention that. It's just measuring how your day goes.
See,
Uh-huh. Another thing that I would want you to talk about is your driving experience and getting to driving, right? Because I mean it's I don't know how people think about epilepsy and driving in general. Like I
Mhm.
have no idea if people think that, if you have epilepsy you can't drive. I personally know that it, of course, depends on everybody and, where you are in medication. And indeed, there
Mhm.
are some people that can't because
Yeah.
of the amount of recurring episodes that they have, the seizures that they have. And I also know that even if you have everything controlled, something could happen, right?
Yeah,
But it could
it's
happen to everybody. I mean,
yeah.
everybody could have like a heart attack or
Mhm.
whatever, right? So, I mean, I also understand that, but I think we talked about it once, and you were like, it actually took me a while to even like be okay with learning how to drive. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about why and how.
Yeah. Me not a worry about who's my driver's license. When I was 18, it wasn't a priority for me
Okay.
because I was still on medication,
Okay.
and it's scary
Okay.
being behind the wheel and possibly having a seizure. It's scary.
Okay.
So I remember one time I came to Aruba on vacation.
Mhm.
I stayed here for like 2 months.
Okay.
Ima probacha, mabay hasi ways, vap, high
Okay.
ways, and slowly driving. I asina makustumari drive,
Okay.
but nahulana mi not a drive.
Okay.
Nahulana rely on bus, metro, tram,
Mhm.
train getting everywhere.
Mhm.
So coming back, living on Aruba 5.5 years ago, oh, this is how it is to drive on Aruba.
Mhm.
This
And you need, you basically need a car in Aruba.
yes.
If you wanna, if you want to have a job and do
Mhm.
activities, our public transportation
No.
sucks. But, so
So
so you have to do that.
yeah, I drive. My neurologist doesn't want me to drive, but I do
Okay.
drive.
Okay.
But if I don't feel that great, if I
Mhm.
have a headache or if I feel tired, um, I ask someone, "Hey, could you take me home? I feel tired of." Someone will like, "Hey, will Mr. Lift?"
Mhm.
And I'm like, "I appreciate it, but I think I'm okay to get home."
Okay.
So I'll drive home and I'll text him, "Hey, may I gas?"
Okay. Okay.
So ito how rekening say. But yeah, I have a like on my seatbelt.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
epilepsy. I may be having a seizure.
Okay.
So
In case something happens.
yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay. I mean, yeah. I remember, and again, it's privileges, right? If you're
mhm.
not in that situation, you're gonna think about that. When I turned 18, I was already studying abroad, and I was so upset because I couldn't get my driver's license the moment I turned 18. I was like, I always thought that I would turn 18 and get my driver's license like immediately. Like, my birthday's today and I want to do the exam like tomorrow kind of thing. Like, I was convinced. And I was like, oh man, I live abroad. I can't do that. And then I decided to switch countries of study. So I was like, yes. As soon as I think it was like, I came home in December, and I started driver's license classes immediately. But I never had to think about whether or not something might happen,
So,
right? Si mi tabay, I don't know, bira malo
mhm.
tras the wheel.
Because you're not only putting yourself in danger, but other people.
So it is a huge responsibility,
Mhm.
and I think that it takes a lot from an 18-year-old in general
Mhm.
to be able to not be selfish and be like, I want a driver's license and consider those
Mhm.
things. And I applaud you for being in that position and generally being able to think about those things and being like, I don't feel comfortable
Yeah.
doing that. Because at the end of the day, nobody else is gonna do it for you. You
Yeah.
kind of have to figure that out for yourself. Um, so I think that it's okay to have those conversations too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, some people, especially at that age, might feel peer pressured and be like, "Como Carmen, bueno, devemos buscar ways." Was that?
Yeah, and I always
Mhm.
like back then, say, can pumi buscar, me que sali, me que say.
Uh huh.
But I woke it a difícil by asking for help. Like, hey, can you take me there and there?
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't want to rely on people.
Okay, like that.
I have a car, I have a driver's license, but I can't drive
Got
because
it.
I don't feel good. So,
So on the days that you feel like kind of okay, do you feel though that people are understanding? Is it more of like you don't want to ask people, or do you feel like maybe people do not fully understand what's
no,
going
people
on?
understand this.
Okay, that's
I don't want to
nice.
ask.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think and I think I've mentioned this before that it's usually the person who is in the situation of, needing help that holds back
Yeah.
because they're afraid
Yeah.
of how people might respond, but also how that might make them feel. But all in all, I have learned that a lot of people are very willing to help.
Yes. Yes.
So that's nice. Okay, interesting. Okay, so that is that. So driving is interesting. Getting to places is
Yes.
interesting, right? Sometimes. Do you just like leave your car somewhere if you're like, I can't drive right now? Do you just call somebody and then just leave your car?
I've had that at work,
Okay.
but some days I like get to work and at the end of the day, ano naman para may auto trove?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That can happen,
yeah.
right? Okay. So, okay. So misconceptions. I think that we should talk a little bit about that. Misconceptions about epilepsy and seizures. Tell us a little bit about those. What, yes. What do people think that, so one thing that I hear all the time, and although I don't understand where it comes from, is that you have to put something in people's mouths that are having a seizure. Okay, so let's talk about misconceptions.
Yeah, amin na bago sa unisebing.
Like I really don't know.
It's worldwide. It's a everybody thinks you have to put something in their mouth, pero no, bueno, I've had bit on my tongue and I've like me ng dali other while I had a seizure.
Okay.
So one of the first thing I always like say, do not put nothing in nobody's mouth, because you can't swallow your tongue. It's not anatomically possible. So I don't know who said that, but it's spread like it's
Wildfire.
yeah.
Because a lot of people still think that that's something
Yeah.
that you should do. You should not do that. Do not
No.
put things in people's mouths, please. So what is something else that you want people to really understand that you should not do or you should do?
Mm, let me see. Like in general, for me,
Mhm.
um, I just honestly, like I said, just para mí pasama this is something I hid. Only a few people knew, but just this past year, I've embraced this part of me.
Mhm.
And the doors that have opened, the growth in me and the healing part, that has been great for me. And I would get comments, hey, mas siya hopi di epilepsy dor di abo. And then, hey, may natatasa ko buti epilepsy. So, constantly making conversations, making people aware, like it was a part of me that I didn't know that wanted to be seen or heard. So, just being supportive, people around me being supportive. Hey, babeo medication. Hey, bane,
Okay.
live. Did you slept well? So, kon asina, like it makes someone feel seen and heard.
And I think that we shouldn't be afraid to have those conversations,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Asking somebody like, "How are you today?"
Yeah.
Because that might determine how you're gonna talk to them or how you're gonna interact with them.
Yeah.
So I asked you at the beginning of the episode, I was like, "Oh, by the way, how are we today?
Yeah.
Should we have like a mellow mood or should we have like a more upbeat mood?" And I think that if if you wouldn't have been so open about it, I might have been afraid to ask you something like
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
Because what if that, triggers something for you? What
Yeah.
if that makes you feel like, oh, what do you mean? You mean that I can't? But it's because you have made it so normal to talk about it and
Yes.
ask about it without judgment. You have allowed a safe space as well for others
Yeah.
around
Mhm.
you. And I think that it goes, both ways too, because we don't know what we don't know. Um, Truth is, unless you have somebody in your family or even close to you with epilepsy, you probably have never really had a conversation about it,
Yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
why would you? And yes, we learned some stuff doing like awareness campaigns, some information we retain, some we don't,
Mhm.
and then we just kind of go on with life.
Yeah.
But I think that by having these open conversations at work, on social media, with friends,
Mhm.
it kind of creates a space where you become more aware. Even if you don't retain all the information, you become more aware of like, where should I go for that information?
Yeah.
Who should I ask? What would that look like or feel like?
Mhm.
So I think that you have done a pretty good job at allowing that space and hopefully encouraging others too to be open about,
Yeah.
you
That's
know.
that's my goal. I
Mhm.
wanna inspire other
Okay.
people with epilepsy
Mhm.
to talk about it more, like because that's the reason why I started talking about epilepsy so much.
Okay.
Is because I don't think many people talk about it on Aruba.
No.
No.
About most conditions. It is
Yeah.
like very okay, I have it and that is about it. And
Yeah.
then maybe during awareness month I'll wear a pin or I'll
That's what I used to do. Every
okay.
year during the
Okay.
Purple Day at
Uh-huh.
26 de Maart, every
Uh-huh.
year we're purple, talk about epilepsy for one day.
Okay.
But just this year, I'm like, no, I'm gonna do something about it, and just talking about epilepsy constantly,
Mhm.
and also being very transparent about it, and to make it just so normal.
Mhm.
So, like I shared recently, I've been my neurologist introduced a new medication for me,
Uh-huh.
which was kind of stressful because these past years I've been 3 years and 3 months seizure free.
Okay, nice.
Well, I've been seizure free. I've dealt with many side effects from medication.
Okay.
So I went to my neurologist 4 times this year,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "No, we have to change it up."
Okay.
And then I was like, for me, it was okay. Let's do it. Let's see
Try
how it
something.
goes. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I introduced it next to what I'm already taking,
Okay.
and it was really hard. The
Okay.
first 2 weeks, I was very emotional. I lost appetite. I was unmotivated. I was very drowsy. So it was really hard adjusting to the medication.
Mhm.
And then week 3 last week, and now today, week 4, I'm feeling so much better. I've never slept so good before in these last couple days.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel more focused at work and I'm more motivated.
Mhm.
So and I did tell work, my boss, a couple of like weeks ago, hey, I started new medication. Just so you know, so everyone who knows around me,
Yep.
if you, because my tata mostra very stiff, like
Okay.
drowsy, you
Uh-huh.
could see it on me.
Okay.
So just telling everyone, like, WhatsApp in the family, hey, I'm on this new medication, so people will know.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if I would like act or be seen differently, this is what's up.
Yes.
So
And also be aware, right? If
yeah,
something happens,
yeah,
then they are aware that there is a change and you
yes,
don't know how your body's going to respond.
exactly,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. So it's a whole process of introducing, getting adjusted. Your body and your brain had to get used to the new medication. So now I feel good. Today I feel good. So and hopefully that will continue.
Yes. Was it scary to go through that process? I mean, like you said, you were 3 years and 3 months seizure
Yeah.
free. So, yes, you had side effects, but was it scary to be like, okay, let's try something new that will hopefully feel even better?
Yeah, because the first
Okay.
thing I did when I got a medication is search, okay, what are the new side effects? So
Okay.
am I gonna get like two different kinds of side effects?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I did, but
Okay.
now it
But just
passed.
for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's pushing through those things, right? Because another thing that I have learned in the medical world, period, is that people don't like side effects. Right? So if they have any type of condition and they, begin a treatment and that treatment makes them feel something, in addition to
Yeah.
whatever condition they're trying to target, they will make rash decisions like stopping medication because they don't like how it makes them feel. And it's understanding that you have to give it time
Yeah.
and your body time to adjust and just kind of like see if it truly, was like a short time side effect or if it's going to
Yeah.
be something.
Like every night I would sit and write in my journal,
Nice.
okay, this is the side effects I would feel this day, like
Uh-huh.
this and this. I would write every day, and then it slowly reduced. I'm like, that would make my day.
Nice, because you were tracking it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it wasn't like, I'm feeling this and it's worse than yesterday. You were actually like writing it down,
Yeah.
so you were able to reflect
Mm-hmm.
yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Because the first few days I did not feel like myself at
Of
all.
course, of course.
And now I'm like, yes, this is me.
Nice. And hopefully, like you said, right? It only
Mm-hmm.
gets better from here.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear that
Yeah.
because that is also something that you mentioned when we rescheduled. The last time that we rescheduled, she was like, "Okay, so I'm on this new medication and we're doing adjustments, and I hope I
Yeah.
forget." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I hope you feel good
Yeah.
because if we do another reschedule, I'm gonna cry." Like,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because today I was listening to a podcast,
Uh huh.
and they said something along the lines, your brain keeps you alive, but it's up to you to take care of your brain. And I kept thinking, yes, my brain is keeping me alive, but I have to take care of it.
Yep, you
I
do.
have to get enough rest, eat, exercise, and in my case, dancing, and then just be happy. And then,
Yep.
yeah.
And exactly, find that balance that works for
Yes,
you,
yes.
and not be afraid of doing whatever it is that you want to do,
Yeah.
because I can imagine that things can be scary. How is the transition of like being a student? Student life is very stressful. Like,
Yes.
I think that student life, like, it's different type of stress. Like when you work, there's also stress if you have like stressful periods, but I think it's very different to
It's
like,
more structured.
yes. Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
Like I cannot, yeah. Yes, like students type of stress is like you sleep and wake up and it's there until you're done. Like, um, how was that transition for you? Was it a positive transition for you? Like,
I mean, it happens for me. It happens so quickly
okay.
because I graduated, and within a couple of weeks, I moved back to Aruba and started
Okay.
working.
Okay.
So where I'm currently still working at in the lab. So for me, I have to adjust, getting back to Aruba, starting a job,
Okay.
first big girl job. So for me, it went slowly, easily, and now 5.5 years later, loving at my job, just sitting behind the microscope every day, looking at
Uh-huh.
cells. So
Okay.
yeah, happy at where I am with my job.
And that's good, right?
Yes.
And I think that you have a benefit that you work in the medical area,
Yeah.
which I think makes people, not always, by all means, but in general, it makes people more receptive to the reality of medical conditions, right?
For sure.
So I think it's a very nice thing.
Yeah, for me, epilepsy throughout the years now, I feel like it's only stimulated me to live healthier lifestyle.
Nice.
Like it took me a while to like adjust the mindset of that instead of like letting it hold me back so many experiences. But now that I've like been embracing it and like grew so much
Yep.
because of it, I'm like, yeah.
Because if I hear you talking, I mean, the things that you have mentioned so far, it is basically having balance.
Yes.
Balance is good. You don't have to have epilepsy to consider balance good. You mentioned resting enough, right? What your body needs, listening to your body, even
Yes,
like when
very
you wake
important.
up,
Yeah.
being genuine, like today is gonna be, a tough day. Can I not handle it? Eating
Yes.
healthier, right? Exercising in whatever form that you enjoy
Yeah.
the most. I think that th- it, of course, it takes growth, like you said, and healing to come to the point where you realize that this has made you probably a healthier person and a more balanced
Yes.
person. um, but I think that it's important for people to understand that that is something positive.
Yeah.
Leading that balanced life, right, is something positive. And sometimes people have the tendency of making people feel bad for being healthier or taking healthier, decisions.
Yeah.
Um, I'll often hear it, especially in our culture, where people are like, ay, but a laugh. Di kong no, ay, si po porque rato mas. And people are like, no, I really need to go rest. People are like, sleep when you're dead, type of
Yeah.
thing. And I think that it takes a lot from somebody, even, with a condition, to literally choose for your own health
Yeah.
over trying to, please everyone else, or trying to function at a rate that is not compatible with your own body.
Yeah.
So, going back to like what you said, being 18, or turning 18 even, and being fully aware that I do not feel like, I want to drive yet, or like I'm ready for that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And not feeling this pressure like it's something that you should, be doing, because yes, that's the age when you're allowed to get a driver's license, but it doesn't mean that you have to.
Yeah.
And not putting yourself in a extra stressful
Yes.
situation or dangerous situation, even if you didn't feel like your body had that balance,
Yeah.
because you're trying to please somebody. And I think that's, if anything, hopefully for the people around people who might have epilepsy or any other condition, consider that when somebody tells you that they're tired, or they're kind of
Yeah.
done for today,
Yeah.
or they can't do this. Believe them, right?
Yeah.
And support them in that decision.
Exactly, yeah. It's so normal for me to like, hey, mina be last hour. I feel tired of.
Yeah.
So I've canceled so many like dance practices, but they understand.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's nice. That's
Yes.
nice. And
And also with the dancing,
mhm.
when I started 2 years ago, I only started 2 years ago,
Okay.
and I didn't tell him right away. I
Uh-huh.
only told him this year, hey, by the way, I have epilepsy.
Wow.
Like, si mi no po step nang of like my coordination, when I po walk someone like dance with their left leg, and like I kept staring like, what? Copy ating ko ba inang?
Uh-huh.
So it's the coordination part is a little difficult for me. But ora mabisa nang nandun okay, okay.
Okay, now we understand.
Yeah, letterlijk. Zie je dat dan? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's coming to the point of being vulnerable because you really like dancing. So being
Yes.
like, I want to stay here and I want to do this. So I'm going to
Uh-huh.
need you to be patient.
Yes.
And yes. And you had a recital.
Yes.
And, recitals can be stressful.
I
There's
love
lots of
it.
practices around it and pressure
Extra.
around it, right? How was that experience? Was that like a new experience for you doing that now?
The last 2 years,
Yes.
I only
Okay.
started dancing 2 years ago.
Okay.
Because before that, when I moved back to Aruba, I did the whole HIIT training, groups training, weight training at the gym, running. I tried it all. Yoga, I tried it all. But one, it would get too tired for me.
Okay.
It would get boring. I would just like cancel again, just stay home and rest. And eventually, someone like, hey, by try out dancing, by try out pole dancing. I'm like, okay, I'll try them both. And now 2 years later, still doing both.
Nice.
And then when I started dancing at Step by Step 2 years ago, they would have recitals. And then for me, it was something new, like the costume, the makeup, the hair.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It was so new, but it was so exciting.
Nice.
And then I do not get stage fright. I mean, a couple of weeks ago when we had it last, I did. I was a little nervous because of the medication. I wasn't confident
Right,
in
because you were in a new situation.
yeah, I wasn't confident in the choreography. So but before that, I love it. It was so new for me. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm glad that I try it out, and it proved to myself, hey, you're not that old to try something new.
Of course not, right?
Yeah, so now I'm dancing jazz, modern, ballet. I mean, I started ballet at 30 years old. It's like a
That's
childhood
nice.
dream of mine to do ballet. I'm
Uh-huh.
doing ballet now,
Nice.
and I'm also pole dancing, so I dance 3 to 4 hours a week.
Okay.
So I love it. Dancing has been amazing. I love it. If I, if I had more time, I would dance more. But I do have to rest.
Yes, you do. But
Yeah.
that is, I mean, I love how you talk about this, right? And you like absolutely light up and you just
Yeah.
like start chatting about it. I love it. But it was finding that, right?
Mhm.
And just like you said, it's never too late,
No.
just doing something new, understanding that,
Mhm.
right now you are going through a change,
Yeah.
medications, new medication, not knowing how you would react,
Mhm.
and then all of it, and then still doing it, having fun while
Yes.
doing it, enjoying it, and
Yeah.
just kind of being aware with whatever comes with it,
Yeah,
right?
and the thing is with dancing,
Mhm.
compared to epilepsy, if you have a seizure,
Mhm.
you lose control of your body. And with
Okay.
dancing, I'm in control of my body.
Yeah.
I'm telling my body what
What
to
to
do,
do?
how to dance.
Mhm.
So that's the art of it. I mean, it comes like it's very beautiful to me that it's
Yes.
totally opposite of having a seizure.
Yes. I'm pretty sure it also feels very empowering, right?
Yes.
To feel like you're doing something so beautiful while you're in control of your body.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yes. And like I said, I really feel how your energy
Yeah.
around it. I
Yeah.
love it. And just how you share anytime that you share about dancing too, even when you have to cancel and you share about it, you're
Yeah.
like, I'm so bummed.
I am, yeah.
Yes, of
Mhm.
course, because you enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think that it's nice for people to hear this, right?
Yeah.
To because again, because I guess of or pop culture or how we and yes, everybody's different. So I'm sure there are people who have very severe, seizures
Yeah.
that impedes them to do these things, right? On
Yes.
a regular like you do. But I think that percentage is actually very little compared to the people that have epilepsy that
Mhm.
is controlled and
Yeah.
that can be balanced with
Yes.
a very productive and happy life.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to hear that, for parents to hear that, for young adults to
Yes.
hear that, for
Yes.
teenagers to hear that,
Mhm.
because it can be really scary for parents, like you said, if a baby starts having baby spasms and then, oh my gosh, what if it's like epilepsy that um, if with the right support system
Yeah.
and figuring out their specific needs, um, they could, get to a point where they could live a positive and balanced life.
Exactly. Yeah. And for me, these past months, I've started therapy.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So for me, working on my mental and emotional health, and also physical.
Yes, of
So
course.
figuring out what is my needs, my boundaries with
Mm-hmm.
like epilepsy and with my like lifestyle, how I want to
Mm-hmm.
live, everything I want to do. And so focusing on that also, it's been a lot, but I mean everyone should focus on their needs, their boundaries,
Yes.
and then the support. And I've been doing that, working a full-time job,
Yes.
dancing, advocacy about
Uh-huh.
epilepsy, so it was a lot lately.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I see your stuff for somebody who like has to check in with their body, I'm like, girl, you're doing so much, you should really be proud of yourself. Like if you have to take a day off, so be it.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing so great.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's I'm sure you want to do more because you're a
I
very
would.
energetic person.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So,
yeah, I want people to see other patient with epilepsy. Hey, you can have a job, you can have a career, you can have
yes.
hobbies, you can drive, you can travel, you can have adventures. It's
Mhm.
possible. If I can do it, you can too.
Yep. Yep, and I
Yeah.
think you're doing a very good job at showcasing that.
Thank you.
Yes, like I really think that you also focus a lot on like the positive things and the truly informational things.
Yes.
And there are so many forms of like advocating or creating awareness, and different things work for
Yeah.
different people, right? What
Mhm.
touches them. Like I can tell you what works for me, and I think that anytime that I see content that is genuine but also informative
Yeah.
in that genuineness, I appreciate
Yeah.
that because it's realistic. and
Yes.
and even though I have no idea what you're feeling or what you're thinking, I get a pretty good idea that in that moment I am able to be empathetic,
Yeah.
you know, and genuinely consider it like, oh, okay, get an image, a better
Yeah.
understanding of what you're going through, but what other people like you might be going
Yeah.
through, so that I better know how to interact, how to react,
Yes.
how to approach, and also adapt,
Yeah.
right, to other people's needs, because at the end of the day, that's what we should all be doing, just in whatever space we are, figuring out what we need, like you
Yeah.
said, right, those boundaries and those needs, voicing those, but
Mhm.
also listening to others and finding that way of where we all connect in a way that is balanced
Yeah.
and you know, nice for everybody. So again, thank you so much for the work that you do, and that you're so open about it. Like I enjoy how you're like, okay, I'm gonna write about it. I don't mind talking about it. I'll share pictures. You share pictures of like how you prep your medications.
Yeah.
These are things that unless you have to do that, you have no idea how much time it takes, or
Mhm.
effort and all that stuff. So I appreciate that,
Yeah.
like seeing that and being like, oh wow.
I have to prepare medication.
Yes.
Pasok, may tulubida. Asa kong alarm tulubida. Um, Saturday, I filled my pillbox,
Okay.
and then I like a couple of hours later in the shower, I'm like, oh wait, Monday I have to um increase the medication. So I went back, put on the more medication because I forgot.
Uh-huh.
So if I don't write it down, I will forget.
Yes. And that becomes part of who you are, right?
Yes.
It just becomes a part of who you are, and
Mhm.
that's okay too. I mean, some people, I'll hear people say like, pero umitin ko ba korda turese? Or like, and I'm like, yeah, at the beginning, while you get used to
Yeah.
something, it kind of feels like,
No,
and extra work.
I
But then,
carry
yeah.
I carry around my pillbox. Past Saturday, I went to catch dinner at work, and during the work, oh, my alarm went. Oh, take my medication. So
Yep.
normal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And not be ashamed,
No.
right? And other people too. Again, and if somebody asks, because I mean, sometimes as bystanders, we're like a little afraid of how people might react, and I have personally have that too when something happens and then somebody's like, but what's going on? And then I'm like, oh, you should ask. And then I'm like, no, maybe you should ask, and
Mhm.
then let somebody explain you, and
Também
let's
roupa
use
ask.
let's use this moment to learn, because you obviously asked because you didn't understand what was going on, or you
Yeah.
didn't know. So good that you asked, and
Yeah.
let's talk
Mhm.
about it. And I think that that's something that for me that has changed, where anytime that I understood what was going on, I felt kind of like bad when somebody else asked. But I have learned that in general, people are willing to answer and
Yes.
explain, and then there's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So I mean, um, yeah, as bystanders too, let's just be patient with
Mhm.
others.
Mhm.
If they don't know, it's okay if somebody doesn't know, because
Mhm.
again, unless you're interested, you probably
True.
haven't
True.
talked about it
Yeah.
ever. Um, so again, Helliane, thank you for that. Is there something that you want to leave us with? Is there anything that you really want to share before we start closing off?
I think we talked about almost everything.
Yes.
I think so. Now I remember.
What is something, if you could tell people, um, what is something that you would really want them to remember or to do, in their everyday lives, or the next time they meet somebody with epilepsy? Like, what would that be?
Just ask them, hey, how are you doing? Did you take your medications? Do you know your triggers? I mean, have you
Nice.
slept all
Do you know
right?
your triggers?
Yes, that's very important.
Okay.
Just be supportive, have empathy, because in a way, like, because our brains are like, we have the epilepsy, sometimes we don't feel like normal because we have to like remember, oh, balance, sleep, medication. So just treat us like any other human.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that was a very good message for people to remember.
Yeah.
Helliene, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Thank you for being patient and with all this rescheduling. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I forgot to tell you that we were live, and if you had any questions, I'm so sorry. But in case you did have any questions, you can always ask me these questions. And, if they are targeted at Helliene, of course, I can always send them to her. She's very good at answering. You can just follow her, by the way. Her content is nice, it's informative. So I encourage you to do so. Remember, let me know if there are topics that you really want me to focus on next year for Sincerely Carolina. I will obviously be taking a break, a December break. What else can I say? I don't want to promise this, but I might do a giveaway, based on this episode, and then maybe I'll do it like in January. So stay tuned. But bear with me as I go into like the holiday vibes. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again to Sopi Mix Studio for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Thank you to my awesome sponsors, of course, to Proframe, to Neutrogena, to Febreze, for supporting Sincerely Carolina and these topics, allowing me to sit down with amazing people that have amazing stories to share. And I will not see you again next week, but I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much. Be nice, be kind, and we'll stay in touch. Bye. Well, that was fun. I hope you learned a new thing or two during this episode. Remember, you can win fun prizes during Learn and Win Wednesday quizzes on my Instagram. Share this episode if you loved it, and I will see you again next week. Bye. Sincerely Carolina is powered by Proframe Aruba, Neutrogena, and Febreze.